Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to this series on how to build threads from scratch. In today's episode, we're going to go over replies. I know in the previous episode, I kept saying, what the hell are replies? I don't know what they are. But after looking at actual threads and going on to the Zuck profile, you click on replies and you can see it's pretty straightforward, obviously. It's a main post view and then without a parent ID, and then the comments. So it's just one comment. So even though this post has 3 comments, we only want to show the one comment that he made on his profile. So like, we're going to do the same thing in here. We only want to show the one comment that we made as Tim on someone else's profile, aka React Native Nerd's profile. Before we start though, just a reminder, if you want the full source code and tutorial that goes along with this series, go to reactnativenerd.com/threads to go check it out. Okay, so replies. I'm actually going to go through this episode a little bit differently because I recorded it a few different times and got a little confused on the code of being able to show replies for an activity and being able to show replies for a profile, and then updating our query based on both of those. And why it's a little bit more complex than the other ones of, okay, we have our full home feed and everything, and we have the comments associated with that home feed. The big difference here is that we have always gone from parent post. So we have this parent post and then getting all the child items. But with replies, it's a little bit different. It's getting the child comment first and then getting the parent associated with that. So look at this example. So we have Happy Penguin. That's the comment that we made on this post. So we're logged in as Tim. So to clarify, we're logged in as Tim. And so we want to show our comments. So if someone comes to our profile, we could see what comments that person has made. And that's going to be a little bit different than replies. So replies, see how it shows a little bit different. For replies, we want to show, okay, this is our post. Someone commented on our post. It's so good. I love this place. It's so good. So this gives us the opportunity to decide whether we want to comment on this ourselves or just know that what happened. And this is a little bit different because we could do 2 different queries. Be like, okay, get all the posts that we've created and then get all the comments, and then I created the update. But the main goal here was to just use the same query for use posts basically everywhere in our application. And if we go to our hook of use post, I did clean it up a little bit. First off, I made it more consistent. So even though place right here is uppercase, I lowercased it so that when we go to post view and we find dot place, if we spell it, it's going to be lowercase instead of uppercase like it had before. I mean, I just changed it for consistency purposes. You don't need to. We did the same thing for likes. Did it all lowercase. So now this part's a little easier to read. Okay, we want to get this post, all the information on the post. We want to join on user ID, so we could do post.user.username. We want to join on place, and it's not highlighted. We want to join on place and return the place name. And a good example is this one right here, Mr. O1. We want to join on likes, and likes where and then return the user ID. Okay, so we only want to do the user ID so that we could check to see, okay, did we already like this item? If not, then we can like it. If we didn't like it, then we can't like it more than one time, basically. Repost user. Honestly, we don't even need this on the home feed, but we do need it in other places. So you could make this one optional if you wanted to clean up this query, but for right now, we're just going to use it. And post. So I lowercase this one. Before it was just post like this. We just added the key of underscore post, so it's consistent with the rest of them. And then we're joining on basically the child post like we've been doing on all of these, so that we can find the thread of that post. The one thing we did add was this parent. So we didn't change the schema at all. The schema is exactly the same, and it's actually been working really well for us. But what we've been only doing is, okay, this post has a bunch of child posts. So I want to find like post.children, and then that's a thread. But like I said before, the reply is different in that I want to find the comment first, not the parent item first. I want to find the comment first and then the parent associated with that comment so that I only have to show 2 comments. I don't want to show, if that post has 10 comments from other people, I only want to show my comment from that one post. So that's where we join on the parent ID, where the user and user ID. Okay, so let's get to replies. I also did some of this. I put a lot of boilerplate code because if you go to profile and activity, we have a lot of the same tabs. So we have threads is a little different, but we have replies in both profile and activity. But the queries are going to be different. And that's because replies we show here, I mean, we got to remove this one, but because it doesn't have a child. So let me fix that real quick. So this is in profile, replies, and we could just do dot filter or item dot parent. Yeah, there we go. So we just didn't want to show, that was a post that Tim created, and Tim had a comment on it as well. So like I didn't want to show that in replies. But okay, so back to replies. They're the same code, and the reason I copy and paste it is so it's clear. Okay, we go to profile. This is profile, and then we have 3 tabs: threads, replies, and reposts. And here we have 3 files: threads, replies, and reposts. Even though it's copy and pasted, it's easier to find. And then the big thing is this query. The flat list is basically the same. List empty component is the same. No repost. It's using the same post view. Let's do replies actually, because this one is a little bit different. It's using 2 post views. So the way we get this view is just using the same post view twice, but pulling in the parent item for this one, and then the actual item that we queried on. And the way that we found that query is by use posts. And use post, before, we had just one filter object. We would be like key value type. But now, only difference is we're looping through so that we can create an array of filters instead of just a single filter. So we do filters dot, this is our original query, but then we do filters dot for each, so we're just looping through, and then we're setting it here, filter dot key, filter dot type, filter dot value. So the same thing, but just allowing us to add multiple of them, and then querying on created at the same thing we did before. So it's just a little bit different format. Nothing changed down here. The only thing that changed down here was actually passing in key value type before. Now we're just passing in the array. And so that allows us to do this. So before we were limited in that we would have to do, oh wait, I just deleted way too much there. We would only have to be able to do one item in here, and that's just not going to work for what we wanted. Oh, this is from the activity page. It's just not going to work. So what we need to do instead is be like, okay, we want to find all the replies. Here, let's save this actually. So we want to find all the posts where now we could do parent.userid because we added this field. So now we have access to parent, and it's joining on the parent post. So we can do parent.id. Oh, I keep clicking the wrong one. That's the only downside of having 2 files named the same thing. So this is just preference. You don't have to. They're pretty simple components, but they're 2 different queries. So everything else is the same, but the query. So we want to do where the parent ID is not null, and then where the parent.username equals our user name. So we want to find the post where we created the original post, and then we just want to get the comments that. So we're actually querying on the comment first, and then just getting where the post equals our name. And so this is just a lot cleaner than having to do 2 different queries and then looping through on the front end. And not only is it a ton slower if you do it that way, you're hitting Supabase multiple times and then returning a bunch of data that you don't need just to get this end result. So using this query just allows us to do all the computation in the database, which is going to be the fastest way of doing it. Okay, so let's see. We have parent ID is null, parent.user ID equals our user ID, and then the user ID does not equal our user ID. So we don't want to show, even though I comment it. The only reason I have this line actually is I comment it on my own post, and I don't want to show that. So that's optional. So this one's going to be similar. But you can see that we want the user ID where our ID equals, or where the our user ID that we're logged in as is the user ID of the comment. So that's where we can see. This one's our comment. Happy Penguin is our comment. And then we want to get the parent where the user ID is not our user ID, and where the parent ID, this one's the same. So these two are just swapped with equals and does not equal between replies and activity. And I think you could see why I coded this out already, because just trying to explain this is a little difficult versus trying to code it at the same time. Okay, so replies, as you can see, it's just instead of one post view, it's two post views. And honestly, the only thing we changed in post view was to be able to show this line, because before this was only showing on child threads or thread of a parent. And so what we did is we just made it our own variable instead. So now we could show divider on this part, or we could show it on this bottom part, which doesn't make as much sense because this is what was happening before. So we want to link. It just allows you to like visually link the two posts. Of course, they're already linked in the database, but just to visually for the end user, that's what we're showing. And so in post view, we just did show divider, whereas before it was item.parent ID. And you can see it changes right there, and it's going to change on the same thing. So all we did is just show divider instead. Okay, and that's all the changes we made. Nothing to the schema, nothing to anything else. I added some empty tabs. So right now all we have is follows, and we still have the same follow unfollow functionality, which is going off screen, and we still got to fix. Replies, mentions, we don't have any mentions, but I added like an empty file. It's just an empty array right now. Honestly, we don't even need user because we're not using it. Reposts is the same, but the query is different. So now the same thing with reposts goes here. We have reposts the same type of query, but you can see it's a little different. So repost is, okay, we're logged in as Tim, and we want to know who reposted our parent item or who reposted our stuff. So maybe we want to comment on it, whatever it may be. On our profile, it's different. It's what we have reposted. And so that allows us to go, okay, I'm curious what Tim's up to. And we can see what he reposted. Although that's confusing because we're logged in as Tim. Okay, let's see. I want to see what React Native Nerd is up to. I want to see what they posted, what kind of replies they had, and what type of content they're interested in enough to repost it on their own feed. Okay, and that's our episode. Like where we got replies, we got threads, we got reposts. This profile is almost finished. And then the next thing we're going to do is just go to activity and add some more features here. So right now we got follows, we got replies here, we got reposts, messages. I added this like little tab here actually. If you go to threads, you can send messages, but it actually goes to Instagram, which is interesting. That doesn't help us for our tutorial, so we're just going to create our own messages section, which is what I add here. This doesn't actually exist in threads. So we want to be able to like actually click this button and send someone a post, and that's going to be in a message. And then also mentions is a little bit different. That's when I'm creating a post. I have random content here, but I want to do, hey, hello world I'm logged in as Tim. I could do at React Native Nerd since I'm friends with them. So we want to add like this ability to tag people and then also message those people. So basically one is public, a mention is public. A message would be private, and that would be in their activity feed. So I hope you join for the next one, and see you next time. Peace.